Hello, everyone. Julie Thomas, I'm County Commissioner. With me is Penny Githens, County Commissioner. Lee Jones could not be here today. We do have Jeff Cockrell with us. He is a county attorney. This is a hearing. It is not a time for a vote. We would ask that everyone speak as loudly and clearly as possible. As we do not have microphones for the room, this is just going to the cat's feed. That's going to the cat's feed. That's where you would speak from. We would ask that you try to keep your comments 3 minutes or less if possible. But we'll start with Mr. Cockrell, who will provide some information for us.
Yes, and I think it's important that we have the background to what's going on. The township trustee for Bean Blossom Township approached the county commissioners to indicate that there was an interest in exploring the possibility of the Bean Blossom Township joining the Monroe Fire Protection District. This is not the first time that a township has wanted to join the Monroe Fire Protection District, so we had developed a process, and particularly important through COVID when things were a little bit different, as to what is necessary to get the commissioners to look at whether to take that action or not. And part of that process is it's based in statute, a written determination by a certain number of people within the township that they do indeed want to join the Fire Protection District. There's also a segment of the state code which we are not following, which would require every township that currently is served by that fire protection district to also go through that kind of vetting process and get signatures from them. That protection district has expanded so many times in the past 4 or 5 years that some of the original township we're seeing exhaustion from getting these cards and filling them out and going back. When the public hearings that the township held were done, there was a process in there that if within 30 days over 50 people objected to the inclusion of this in the fire protection district, a special hearing tonight was going to be held to hear from the people who were objecting to that. This is outside of the statutory process, which requires a public hearing before the vote. So no matter what happens today, if this does go forward, there would have to be another public hearing prior to any kind of formal action by the Board of Commissioners. I will tell you that I spoke with the Township Trustee, Ron Hudson, who I believe is here, and he can correct me with whatever I'm saying wrong right now. He indicated to me that there was not going to be a possibility that he would have the requisite number of signatures prior to in a timely manner so that we could get this heard this year. So I think if this was going to go through that process, we would have to renew the process next year. So for this year, according to the township trustee, it's not possible to meet the requirements that the commissioners had set forth in August. To have the commissioners review the decision of whether to have Bean Blossom enter the Monroe Fire Protection District starting in 2026. So that is kind of the background. I think now would be time for anybody who wishes to object to go to the mic and state their reasonings why.
Do we have to object, or can we?
Well,
I'd like to say something, but I don't want to object. Okay?
I think anybody.
Anybody who wishes to speak, we'll hear from. That would be great. If you could start with your name,
Sure.
and if you are a Bean Blossom Township resident, that would be helpful. Thank you.
My name's David Jenner. Live on Cowden Road. Have a farm. Is there any way that the county can stick their nose in here a little bit? I mean, and because I think the right answer here is us to do something with Ellisville. We do not have the, how to say this gently, We don't have attorneys over here. We don't have any of the, those kind of people to help us negotiate with Ellisville. The way Ellisville wrote theirs up doesn't, we need to have a negotiation is what we need. And we need some help to do that. And if the county could help us do that, that'd be fantastic. Just somebody to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed and that kind of thing. If they could do that, it'd be really, really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Hey, Craig Davis, Bean Blossom Township. Once again, I'm not up here objecting. My whole issue with this process is it felt like it was hurried, and it was going to be pushed through without the voice of all of the citizens and their concerns being addressed, mainly as to how much it's going to cost each individual citizen in Bean Blossom Township. Based on we had the meeting here, the woman come and did the big financial piece. Well, that was nice and all, but it still didn't just tell them how much money per year this was going to cost on their taxes. While I can probably absorb a little more, and I love fire protection, I love firefighters. Where you at? Oh, see, yeah, okay. I'm not against public safety at all. I'm in public safety myself. But I think we need to take more time and be sure all the options are explored and the citizens have the information. My question is, I found out about this meeting like others did about 3 hours ago. Where's the information posted for these meetings? Where does everybody get the information? That's a question a lot of people want to know.
Well, I think the answer is that is we noticed this meeting the same way we noticed every other county meeting we have. I think I learned today that it certainly was not received by the audience that we wanted to. I spoke with Kevin Patton, with the Ellisville Fire Department, and I think he helped get in touch with people to help get the word out. And honestly, I apologize that it wasn't better, but I apologize, but it's also just the changing of the times where 10 years ago we go through this and everybody knows about it,
Right.
And it's not a problem. And so our rules on how we notice these things haven't changed. And so, that's something we traditionally never struggled with, which now we're kind of, in the past 3 or 4 years, we're kind of struggling more with making sure people know when these meetings are.
Okay, right, so how are we going to do that? We have a process going forward. My 85, almost 86-year-old mother-in-law, she doesn't, social media or the newspaper or how does she get this information other than, and I didn't get it. So where do you publish it at, I guess is my question.
We send it to every media outlet that requests it, which is pretty much all of them
Okay.
in the county. If you have suggestions on how to do this better, because this is a struggle we have.
Okay.
If you have suggestions, more than happy to hear them to figure out
Okay.
better ways to address that.
Well, in the end, my time's probably up. I think this needs to be slowed down and look at, like you said, 2026, and get everybody a chance to get their opinions and how much it's going to cost them. More information.
Thank you. And we did want to hold the meeting here rather than downtown because we wanted to be as close as we could to the folks who matter, right?
Hello, my name's Richard Gieselman. I'm live on Prather Road in the township. I've got some notes and, I've got a little bit to say. And I'd like to begin my comments by saying I am not anti-fire police. There may be a need for this. What I'd like to project out right now is there's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of, my taxes have been raised at my business, $9,000. I negotiated that back, $4,500. We're going to get another 19% possible increase from what we heard earlier at these meetings, which I was at. We're getting beat up on a lot of places, and then we have the inflationary concerns. There are a lot of people hurting out here that don't have the money. I have some friends, and I'll identify them if anybody'd like to speak with them. They just can't be here. They're old. But they're in their 70s, and they've got homes, and they're worried about keeping them with the current levels. And like I say, there may be some need for this, but we can't always do everything we want every time. And we're the effective tax rate, and I own a business and I make a little money. You know, I'm feeling whipped, and I'm 58 and getting ready for retirement. And it seems like to me, maybe sometimes we could look for efficiencies or waste, go back and get rid of something. Not all money has to come from something new. And when do we end? When does it stop? How do we, you know, where are we going to have a 50% effective tax rate? We're going to have 70. When do we get a break? The people are, you know, we've had a lot of things go on in the world. People's heads are hurting. And, you know, not everybody makes $150,000 a year. And I just think that maybe we ought to look at other avenues. And I think personally, you know, there might be some need for change. I just don't think that collectively we can all take it right now. It's like I say, it's a tough time in the world. My personal situation, I could probably handle it. But I know a lot of people can't. And, you know, my particular stand is, you know, I have a business. I deal with all these entities involved. And I go to the courthouse. I have a lot of love for the county, a lot of love for the fire department. They do business with me. I own Richard Small Engine in Ellettsville. And, you know, I don't want to step on toes, but it's got to the point where I had to act. And I'm not wanting to be here acting. But I have looked at my effective tax rate, and I'm all in. I just don't have it. You know, it's my life. I'm not young. I'm not building up anymore. I'm shifting gears. I want to play out the rest of my years and have a kind of a feel for what I owe. And I got cracked at my business. $9,000, went up and negotiated back $4,500. I hate to tell that story, but I've been hit there. I don't go out and eat like I used to. The money's getting, you know, I've had to tighten my belt. I hate to see people that are in a different situation. You know, and I know some of them, and they can come in and see you. They just can't, you know, get to meetings because they're old. There's a lot of hurt going on. I think that there ought to be other avenues, and, you know, there's places to get this money. Something could end, and we don't always have to tax somebody to find the dollars. You know, there's always something to trim. I'm in business. I have to meet my bills, and I have to budget. And right now, I just don't feel like this area and this world has any more room with the inflationary pressures, the other taxes. It's a time to put the brakes on a little bit and give us a break. And I love the fire department, the police. I would always support necessary infrastructure and the police and fire.
Yeah, you're over 3 minutes, just by the way. But
That's okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alita Hornick. I have a few things that I'm really curious about because we received that survey, whether we were for or against this project, with no information attached to it. And I think that's very concerning that you send out a survey asking whether we're for or against something with no information attached. We kind of need to know, what is the problem that we're going to solve here? What is the problem that we currently have? And so how are we supposed to make informed decisions about what we're doing here if we don't even know what the problem is to be solved? I don't know of anybody here that has had any concerns about the fire protection that we currently have. And so if there are those concerns, please let us all know what those concerns are. Because I think most of us know that in a rural district, we aren't going to have protections that are going to come within 1 minute. It's just not going to happen. So what exactly are we trying to achieve with this new protection? Because that is very important. The other thing is we never received any information about what the cost was going to be for this. What are we actually getting with this new protection? Fire departments usually have 2 men on staff at a time. They're going to do 24 on, 48 off. That's going to be 6 firefighters at $110,000, $120,000 each. That's going to be like $700 and some odd thousand, depending on what it is. So we need to know what the costs are so that we can weigh these benefits. Also, it was never communicated whether there were other options. Only one option. What, are we looking at any other options? What about the Ellettsville Fire Department? They already come to some fires that exist in this area. They are providing resources as far as I know. So how is it that we aren't communicating with Ellettsville to determine what we can do to have better fire service? My understanding is that Ellettsville could continue to provide fire service to us, and we should be going down that avenue of looking to see what they can offer, and probably for significantly less cost to our tax base. So, I mean, I really think what needs to happen is we need to have a clear understanding of where this issue was raised, what problem are we trying to resolve, how much is it going to cost us, and what benefit am I going to get from paying those extra tax dollars? It's important. All of these people are trying to make ends meet. And if you don't know what the benefit is, I'm not gonna give you an extra dollar. It's just not, it's not the way it works. We can't do it anymore. That's what I have.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Please.
My name is Mary Shelley, and I live in Bean Blossom Township. And I'm agreeing with everything that everybody else has said so far, although I think we have a little more information than what some of us may think, because there has been a little bit out there. Ellettsville has made an offer to help to service Bean Blossom Township, and I think that was last May. But then when Monroe County Fire District, the difference was that Monroe County Fire District will staff this fire department here 24/7. Whereas I don't, and I can't be positive this is true, but I don't think Ellettsville Fire Department will do that. They'll do everything out of Ellettsville Fire Department and also, and use the equipment here. And they will do that at no charge for 3 years. The difference is then that if we get firefighters staffed and paid, right now we have volunteer firefighters, if they are paid, it is going to cost at a minimum what she was saying of $750,000. I've heard the budget looks more like it's going to be $1.5 million, or it was $1.3 million or $1.5 million to staff it and run it here. Again, I just found out about this meeting 2 hours ago, so I just have what's in my head, and it may not be correct, but it's close. And I think it's just financially irresponsible to do that. As many runs as there are for Bean Blossom Township, to pay that much money per run, and we'd have to get the numbers because I'm not exactly sure what they are. I have an estimate in my head. It makes absolutely no sense to me to be spending that kind of money. And it will significantly increase every property owner's taxes, whether they own acreage or whether they own buildings that can burn. I have not seen where the benefit outweighs the cost at all. And if I could see that, maybe somebody could change my mind, but I am thoroughly against it at this point with the knowledge that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Ponton. I live in the Vineyard on DeLapp Road, more than 15 minutes away. I did a petition. I had 60-some signatures, of which they called out a few. I don't know how many. All the people that I talked to, and I personally talked to every one of them, said they didn't need any more taxes. And it wasn't going to help them because this fire station would be 15 minutes away. And you're not gonna speed it up any way you look at it. We're the furthest point from Steinsville. We have houses from $300,000 to $500,000. You know, the people I talked to just didn't want it, period. And that's all you can say.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Yes, my name is Everett Porter. I've got a couple properties here in the township. And my taxes on real estate, which I'm not what I'd call prosperous landowner, but they were over $9,500 last year. And I hate to see stuff go up. You know, it's hard on me. I'm on a fixed income. But probably the biggest thing that's bothered me is the communications. And like you said, I can understand how you don't communicate with the populace because people don't take a newspaper and watch it every day like I used to for years until the thing got so bad it wasn't worth dragging home. But you really need to figure out some way to communicate with the public a little more, get the word out. One little card that I got, to me, doesn't institute being notified as to what's going on. I don't see that it has been explained. And from what I've heard from other people here, nobody seems to understand that either. And not only that, but as politicians, I've watched this, I'm 73 almost here, and it seems to me like everybody's always figuring out how to spend some more money. And this puts somebody to work somewhere, whether it's a policeman or a fireman or somebody delegating all these jobs. And I'd love to see somebody come along and say, hey, Mr. Public, we figured out some way this year not to spend more of your money. We figured out something this year to make your life a little better. I'm not saying that we don't need fire protection. It'd be stupid not to look at that, but it's really stupid not to inform the people. And if you guys can sit around and look at this stuff, or maybe somebody comes in and suggests something, I think the importance here is to really communications. There's not any. So, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak today?
My name's Dave Jenner, second. I live in Bean Blossom, out on Cowden Road. So, I'm just want to, I guess, enforce what's already been said. I think that other options, such as the options with teaming up with Ellettsville, I can tell you I've lived here for 50 years, almost, in April. And every incident that has ever happened in this area, I've always seen Ellettsville responding to it and being a part of it. And as to my knowledge, they've never even received a dime from Bean Blossom for those things that they've done for years, right? So it would seem to me that that option says we already have something in place that has workability to it. But we were never asked that on the questionnaire. When we got a questionnaire, would you want to look at this other option? We only had yes or no to doing what is being proposed right now. I really believe that it needs to step back. It needs to look at all the options, and we need the county to kind of be looking at that with Bean Blossom officials and getting something that doesn't tax us to death, And under the realization, you live in a rural area, and you're not going to get what you get inside the city, those kind of services. That's just the reality of life. But that's pretty much my opinion on the matter.
Thank you.
My name's Doug Bartlett, and I live in Bean Blossom Township. I agree with what David Jenner said. You know, we need to be looking at all the options. We don't need just one department to come in here and say, let's do this. You know, I'm a retired firefighter from City of Bloomington and Ellisville, so I know what they do for runs. I know what Bean Blossom does for runs. I've lived here my whole life. I just think we need to be looking at something else.
Thank you.
My name's Philip Baugh. I've lived on Woodall Road for 71 years. We've had several fires in the area there, including my father's barn in '68. Down the road, the Stalkup Place burnt in 1970. A bunch of the Bean Blossom Township firefighters were hurt there in January. The most recent fire was down on Deck's farm. And then up the road, Thurman Deckard's house burnt when I was growing up. And we live closer to Ellisville than we do to Steinsville. I have some questions like, why does Ellisville not want to be a member of the Monroe Fire District? And they've always come out, just like everybody has said. And for all these years, being that far away, it's at least 7 miles or more over where I live from here. Other question is, if we have 2 permanent firefighters on here, that's not enough to take care of a fire. Who else is going to support them? Is it going to be volunteers or what? And where are the Monroe Fire District people going to come from? And also, does this mean that if we go with the Monroe Fire District, is Ellisville going to quit responding? If they quit responding where I'm at, we won't really have hardly any protection, basically. That's all.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make any comment?
Does not the newspapers that, or the radio stations advertise? Well, you're a public service, wouldn't they advertise this stuff?
Do radio stations advertise rather than a newspaper?
They get the same notice as the newspapers get. We send it to all, and I believe that the local radio stations, at least a couple of them, have asked for and get all our notices, right? And I think Mr. Farmer and I talked about that a little bit earlier today on the struggles that the county has and Ellisville has had trying to figure out how to get the word out in this changing world that we're in. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're perfect with that. We have state code we have to follow. We follow that. But, you know, if, like I told Mr. Farmer, if anybody has a suggestion for these, particularly for this area, because, you know, I think this clearly today showed that this is one of the gaps of places that doesn't get the information through our normal means. If you guys have suggestions, so when something like this happens again, it'd be really nice to know how you guys get your information and your news so that we can. Facebook?
Reliable.
I have a suggestion. Since everybody has a cell phone, why don't you start up a group text messaging system and then let us put our names on it? And then you send out to a group text whenever something like this is going on. That would be the fastest and the simplest that I can.
Seems to me that would be, because Facebook is not always reliable and accurate, so.
Can't rely on one avenue, I think is another issue.
My name's Kip Hetty. I'm a lifelong resident with a lot of family members in Bean Blossom Township, probably 4 generations or more. I'm like with the rest of these folks here. There's the thing that you guys have, it's called the Everbridge. where you guys send out messages for whether if it's weather conditions or whatever. Can we not do this through the Everbridge thing? Because I'm not sure how many people here has that on their phones, but it could be sent out that way as well. And going forward with this, since now we're going to be looking at what we're going to be able to do for 2027 instead of 26, where do we go to from here? Is our trustee going to coordinate with us to let us know about what the future negotiations are going to be? Are we going to be getting another ballot, yes or no ballot again? Where are we going from here now? Since this is basically stopped, where are we going from here now? That's what I'd like to know. Thank you.
Do you want to address that?
Well, I can try to address it, and I address it this way, is that the county doesn't have a fire department. The county does not do fire in and of itself, right? It's a township by township service that's provided through the townships. And so I think the expectation of the county was that this communication, and we've heard a lot about communications being poor, and I apologize for this meeting, but this was really the only meeting that the county has called for this purpose, right? What we have seen in the past is that these meetings have occurred on the township level, and the discussions have occurred on the township level, and then it goes to the county commissioners and say, hey, we've had these conversations at the township level. What do we need to do to get it to your level, right? That's historically how this has worked out, and it seems to have not worked here, right? And I'm not blame anywhere or anything like that. I think that that's something, assuming, and I don't even know if it will, because I've heard other alternatives and things like that, but that conversation, I think, needs to happen with you guys at the township level, at the township board and with the township trustees. And then, the trustee will come to us, or, we have open meetings where you guys can come at any of them and come to public comment and let us know what you're thinking. And you could do it virtually or in person or however you want to do it. But I guess it's our expectation that you guys are working with your trustees, you're working with your township board to come to these resolutions, to have these conversations about, hey, we've heard this other provider will do this for X, and we're looking at Y, but we don't understand what Y is what I've heard tonight. That conversation, we would hope would happen before we get approached.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to help facilitate that. I just don't know how, because I don't work at the township level, right? I work at the county level, and I'm hearing that we've got gaps in our communication at the county level to you guys. I'd actually written down Everbridge before the gentleman came up to see if that's something that we could utilize. I think that's a good avenue to look at. I'm just curious how many people are on that notification system.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Everbridge is the county emergency system. It's run through our emergency management. If there's inclement weather or anything like that, you'll get notice through your phone
Well, however you choose
or
to.
email or
Yeah,
phone.
Or text, and/or all of the above. If you go to co.monroe.in.us, which is our website, there's a big megaphone on the main page. You click on that, and you can enter your information there. And, opt out at any time, but you can choose how you wish to be notified, all of the above, one or two of the above, whatever it might be. And you will receive notifications. We don't tend to use it for non-emergency purposes, but it can be targeted to an area, so it might be
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah.
So,
And this is free. It's not going to cost you anything.
right, we pay a annual contract no matter how many subscribers we have, so.
Most of the people that I talked to in the petition I took,
Can you
They
come up
said-
to the microphone? Sorry, I know we can all hear you the same in the room no matter what, but we want to get you on CATS and memorialize your statement. Thank you.
most of the people that I talked to when I did the petition said that they threw the card away, they didn't understand it, didn't know what it was about, nothing. It was a 3x5 postcard, it was trash for them,
Right,
so they threw it away.
right.
And they knew nothing about any of the meetings or anything else.
Rachel Peden McCarty. I own property here in Bean Blossom Township, but in the meantime, anything that you send to us at Ellettsville High Neighbor for Ellettsville or Bean Blossom Township, I'd be glad to post.
I might chat with you after this meeting to figure out how that happens.
Yeah, because there's Nextdoor, which is another, yeah, but it's also got a lot of ads and stuff on it, so it's not the best, but. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Well, we appreciate you all being here, even if you only found out about it a little while ago. You all got here, so good for you. Yeah, so I feel like what we need is real clarity on Ellisville's proposal. We need to ensure that we're getting good information on the fire protection district and the tax implications for that, because I'm not sure that that was, right, Dustin? I'm talking to Dustin Diller, who's the chief in Monroe County Fire Protection District, who's in the back of the room. Thank you for being here. Do you have anything you want to add about anything? Okay. But I just feel like that we could do a comparison sheet of some sort and somehow get it out to folks somehow, some way, that will help you understand, why things have to change, how they could change, what the impact will be on you personally, because a lot of this is about emergency medical calls, not so much fire, but of course they all fall under the umbrella of fire. And if we can get something like that put together, I'm looking at Ellisville's proposal and there's a lot of gaps. I don't know, what is the cost? Is the station actually going to be moving? Because it sounds like that's what the plan is. The station would be at Red Hill. I don't know. But, so there's a lot of gaps. It's very nebulous, and you all deserve accurate.
Somebody involved that could kind of
Yeah.
put that together.
So we can see what we can do to help facilitate that. We have to figure out how to get the information out to everybody, but that's, the next step. But we could facilitate that. So, working with your township trustee, okay? Do you have any other, please, come up to the microphone.
Just have a
Please.
question. So as it stands now, nothing is going to happen this year, correct?
The requirement in the commissioner's statement to the trustee on what is required from them to look at this issue will not be met. So I guess the answer is correct.
Okay, yes, it wasn't met, so it's going to be delayed until at least next year going forward, and so wouldn't take effect until 2027.
27
Yes.
tax year.
Okay, thank you.
26 taxes, 27 taxes, 28, yeah. Anyway. That's my timer. All right, are we good? All right, thank you all for being here, appreciate you. Thank you.